Now then guys, okay, update where we are with the CBR. So as you saw in the last video, I cleaned out all the jets and the carburetors, and that's why I left the video. I put the carburetors back on the bike, started up. It does run much better, but still got a lumpy idle. So I made the decision to remove the carburetors again, unfortunately, and just inspect a little bit further. And one thing it has identified is that even though I cleaned the pilot jet, which obviously it would have been there on this carburetor, what I didn't do, which I should have done, is check the pilot air fuel screw adjustment. So, which I located here. I've removed them already, the pilot screws. Okay. So the standard setting for these is two screws out, 2 complete turns out. Sorry. So what you want to do is do one at a time. Tighten the screw until it seats slightly and count the number of turns. So this one was 2, this one was 2 1/4, this one was 2 1/4, and this one was 2 1/4. So not that different, to be honest. Interesting how that one wasn't 2 1/4, but the rest were. The standard factory setting is two turns out. So I made a note of that. So obviously I'm gonna try and put it back to the previous settings. But also I removed the pilot screw, and what I did notice, there's 5 on. I've got them quality soaking in carb cleaner. I just fucking dropped one. Okay. So this is the pilot screw here. So it's a very small, fragile looking thing. And at the end, ooh, I don't want to focus. Focus. Yeah. Just pop them. Yeah. At the end there, when I took them all out, they all had a lot of deposits on the end. So I should have cleaned these out the first time round, but it didn't occur to me. So I've taken all these out. They're all soaking in carb cleaner now. And then I've put some carb cleaner in where the screw went. I'll blow that out as well, and put the carbs back together and put on the bike. So hopefully that's the end of it, and the bike will running much better. Not a lumpy idle. If that fails, my next step is to look at balancing the carburetors. Hopefully it don't come to that, because that's a bit of a twat of a job, but I'll do it if I have to. So let's see how it goes. Okay, another item to check on the bike I have just noticed. So on this CBR600, you've got just on the intakes of the engine, you've got these vacuum line ports here. Okay, so they're used. Another one there. So they're used so you can hook up some vacuum gauges, and you can use the vacuum readings to synchronize the carburetors. Okay, so these should be plugged up. Okay, which they were. However, this cylinder here had a different design plug, should we say. Looks like a bodge to me. And coincidentally, when I inspected this one, it's got a lot of cracks in here. It's got a crack there. You can see that, a crack there. And obviously this is supposed to be on that plug, and as the engine is running, vacuum, it's going to suck this and seal, so no unmetered air can enter the engine. So I sucked on this end here just to see, and it is leaking. So this is definitely one of the contributing factors to my poor idle. Okay, so I'm glad I noticed this, because I might have been chasing my tail with continuing to look into the carburetors, but I think this might have been definitely part of the issue. So with this not sealing, basically the engine is going to be sucking in air after the carburetors, and that is technically unmetered air, which I don't have any fuel added. So obviously then the engine is going to be running lean which would explain why, when it is running, it would explain why that exhaust pipe on that far end was much hotter than the rest. Okay, so what I've done, I've taken an M8 bolt, well, Allen head bolt, and I've basically unscrewed the old vacuum port was on there, and then I put some PTFT around it, and then I've screwed this in just for now to make a seal while I try and source the actual part. Okay, so it's just a good thing to perhaps have a look at if you're doing a similar sort of job as this, because I think these can be overlooked. I mean, they looked fine, I didn't even think about it, to be honest. Okay, so here we are. So carburetors are back on, the vacuum lines for the vacuum gauges, I've plugged them, put the air filter back on, got my dummy tank set up. Okay, so let's have a listen, see how she sounds. So in all honesty, I just started her with the choke, taking the choke off now, and I've adjusted the idle speed screw there to get to within specifications, which is 1200 RPM. Once it's warmed up, it's not quite warmed up, so I'm gonna have to do it again once it's warmed up. But so listen. So as you can see, there's still a bit of a lumpy idle, which at this stage I think I've done enough checks to conclude that the only thing really left now is to synchronize the carburetors, which I will maybe do next. I think the next step I just want to get this bike MOT'd and just go for a ride and stuff, and just get it up to temperature and up to speed. See how it goes. Now then guys, so another method you can use just to check how your bike's running, how the cylinders are balanced, is to check the temperature of each of the exhaust. You might have seen from a previous video me doing this just by hand, but I've bought one of these infrared thermometers. They're relatively inexpensive. And this will fairly accurately measure the temperature of each of the exhausts, so it gives you an indication of perhaps a cylinder that's running too lean or a cylinder that's running too rich. Rich being it's running too cold, and lean meaning it's too hot. Okay, so I've got this ready. Let's start the bike up. I've already warmed the bike up also, so it'll run without choke. Okay, so I think that worked pretty well. Gave me some accurate readings. Did it a few times, and I got a bit of an average for the different cylinders. So I've got showing here. So cylinder 1, 143, 260. Cylinder 3, 260, and cylinder 4, 224. So clearly we've seen a big difference between the first two cylinders and 3 and 4, which coincided with what I could feel just by touching the exhaust pipes. So based on some research I've done, around the 200 to 250 at idle for warmed up engine is about optimal for this engine. So that would suggest that 3 and 4 are okay, but 1 and 2 are definitely running too cold or too rich. So with the work that I've done on the carburetors recently, I'm fairly confident with the mixture screw turns and the conditions of all the jets. So I believe it's not getting enough air. So my next step, hopefully to try and resolve this issue and the lumpy idle, is to look at synchronizing the carburetors. Okay.
Civvy.